This is Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Barb Bacon. I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. Generally, I drive people around and to doctor's appointments, and I'm getting ready to have my sign-up list for taking people to vote. Buttons, once again, I believe in healthcare for all. I've got some people that don't believe in Medicare for all. Gun violence, let's get some control of guns, and Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel that passed away last year. So that's it, guys.
Hey, I'm Christian Cano. You're the co-host. My buttons are Moms Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
We're jamming out here on the first Wednesday of the month. This is November 2nd already. We're into the heartland of the holiday season now. We've got a little Tejano. This one's called the Tejano Mega Mix.
Oh, wow. The Mega Mix. Not the MAGA Mix, the Mega Mix.
No. Not confused with the MAGA psychopathic Republicans. I'm sure we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, it's a combination of La Mafia, which is a famous Tejano Texas band that anybody who lives there knows who. Even if you're white, you know who La Mafia is. Yeah. And the Los Palimos and La Tropa and a few other superstars in that scene. And I've actually seen several of those. I've actually seen several of those live in San Antonio.
Go, Jenny.
Well,
go. I'm impressed that you know that.
Kind of the mothership of Tejano music. Yeah. I mean, they play fiestas and the Nausa, and so a lot of them I saw when I was in and around the Nausa event, and so you couldn't escape it. The stage was so big that you had all these German polka bands, Polish bands, and Tejano groups, and Conjunto, and all kinds of music.
I don't know what that is.
Just a whole lot of drunk white and Latin people drinking beer and making music.
It's
a different. It's a little bit more, of a polka type rhythm and things like that. So a little bit more.
Nothing wrong with a good polka.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Well,
there's a Barbara polka, by the way.
I'm sure there is.
Okay, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn, Barb Bacon. We also have with us today Democracy Bernie and DACA Baby Trump Pinata. They will be leaving us after we start the show, so you can just focus on us. Thank those who are watching us on Facebook Live, but also those who watch us on YouTube, and then the thousands that listen to us are on your favorite audio podcast platform. We don't introduce ourselves anymore because that's the video that starts the show. Today's topic is actually Voto LatinX. Can American democracy be saved? We'll be talking about the elections that are coming up next week, and we'll be talking about other things as we usually do. So with that, let's go ahead and salute to our neighbors, whatever you're drinking this morning. As Jenny said, today is November the 2nd. Good morning, everyone. And then also we do want to thank, I did take Jenny's advice the last 3 shows, finally. I took her, I remember she told me, I have this little table here so I don't have to bend down. I want to thank our producer, sponsor, and supplier, Manolo's Bakery. Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue here in Charlotte, North Carolina. please visit Manolo's Bakery. And actually, as holiday season starts, it's a good time to consider your tamale orders, your tres leche cakes, all of the wonderful things that they bake and make are in wherever you live. I'm sure there is a place like Manolo's, but we support Manolo's.
Speaking of food for thought, this year, are we going to do a special edition where we're going to make tamales on air?
Hey, I'm game. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll Jenny and I, we
maybe not a normally scheduled deal, but one of our pop-up shows.
Want specials? Oh, that's a good idea, Jen. Yeah, last year we made them around Thanksgiving.
Actually, we made them the same week we went
after Thanksgiving
to the drag show at the Symphony.
That's right. So that would have been 1st of December.
Yeah, yes. End of December.
That's right.
It was December.
End of December. We made them sometimes. That's an excellent idea.
It is because I took a few Snapchats there, and it pops up
Corgi.
Time to time Corgi Thor. And
that's right.
A lot of people don't know that besides being a drag queen, she's also a world-class musician, and actually it was really good. I mean, you know,
she performed with our symphony here in Charlotte. It was a very entertaining show. It was a good show. And speaking of, hey, I'm glad you reminded me, Jen. I completely forgot. I want to thank all of those who watched our special that we had last week. We actually dropped it on the 27th, I believe, on Thursday, and it was MAGA's War on Drag Queens. And we knew when we were taping that show, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It was a great show. Thank you, CC, for joining us. He is a North Carolina drag queen performer. Thank you for the time he gave for us to talk about that show. But we've had so many comments, once again, as Jenny knows. People's hair, we knew it was going to happen.
What?
They just...
and again... you can look at the comments and you can tell they haven't watched the show based on the comments, because the comments have literally nothing to do with the show. Like one person was talking about Marxism, which actually drag is a business, so it's actually capitalism.
Exactly.
There was a couple other like just weird comments and bizarre things. But not like they don't know the difference between drag queens and trans women, but clearly they didn't watch the show. I mean, you know, but that's typical of the commenters. So our viewers, our actual loyal viewers watching the show, whether it's, you know, closeted Democrats that actually vote Republican and just want to watch, you know, our hijinks but versus the trolls that just want to comment on the show, and it's night and day, you know. I mean, and you can tell that they're not educated on our show at all, which is hilarious. So it's easy to make fun of them.
Well, you know, and our actually regular show last week was about PBS. It was our part 3 of PBS All White Media ? And we had very few comments on that. They were just so focused on the drag show. I mean, we've had a lot of viewers for both of them. But they were just focused on the drag show, and I thought it was. I'm so. I guess I should be like flattered that some of the people created these fake accounts that are like they're MAGA Proud Boy guys, and they created these fake accounts just to troll us, and they are just obsessed with us. I'm just like, thank you so much.
It's a lot of. It's a lot of effort to create troll accounts to troll shows like ours. I mean, you know, I think it's interesting. It's a fascinating study in human psychology.
Yes.
That I you know what I equate these people to, that fit in their little single wide meth lab / grandma's basement, wherever they're hanging out at the time, is that they're kind of like, remember back in elementary school and you had to play dodgeball, and you know, some kids just weren't good at it. Some kids were out early. Some kids like me were, you know, just winging that ball towards people's heads and knocking their heads off, which, you know, I was a dirt kid. You know, I was a little monster. And anyway, but Chris, you know, the chubby kid that always got picked last, always the first one out. Usually his pants fell down by his ankles, that sort of thing. That's
who
these
these
MAGAs.
people are.
Well,
I just find it. Yeah.
And they're primarily losers. And they're just a sad kid that's not going to, they're always going to get picked last. So they're not really getting picked. They're just like, oh, we're stuck with that. We're stuck with that MAGA. And they're just malcontent losers that have nothing else to do. But I think they're sad. I think it's really sad.
But Jenny, you made a very good point, because I don't know any, it is a very unique characteristic of a MAGA person, especially under the Trump era. MAGA people are so obsessed with watching things they don't like and they hate.
Would it be outraged?
I don't watch things that I don't like and I hate. I only watch things that I like. And so it is interesting that they
and enjoyable.
Yes, exactly. So they spend all their effort on things. And so it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I just
but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Intelligent people, which are going to be progressive people that are forward thinking, that can go past the horizon of being mad about something and actually use their minds versus being an emotional triggered snowflake, is the same reason why I don't eat out of the toilet or the dumpster. That's why I don't watch Fox News, because if you feed your mind with Tucker Carlson and all of his inane rantings, what are you going to learn from Tucker Carlson that you
they're afraid of everything.
Just,
I don't know why they go out. It's like,
I mean,
so afraid
you're not going to learn anything. He's going to say the same things every week. It's either going to be some soft gay porn guy, blasting an ultraviolet light on his crotch, or it's going to be, he's going to be mad about drag queens or Hunter Biden's mysterious laptop that's made it all around the world and everything in between. And to me, if you sit down and you watch Fox News habitually, you can't be that smart. You just really can't, because you
turn on some PBS.
I mean, at least
But they all white people.
At least it's something, right?
At least PBS's racism is in some kind of art form. I mean, Downtown Abbey. I mean, Fox News's racism and homophobia is just dumb. Well, it's just the lowest form of news.
So thank you, Jen. And speaking of dumb, let's talk about our 3 current events that Barb got us on almost over a year ago now. We do 3 current events each show. The first current event.
We should call it Barb's 3 current events.
Hey, that's a good idea. Write that down.
What are we
Barb's?
Because
let's talk about Barb's 3 current events. Okay.
It's not a bad thing.
And this is Barb's current events.
Barb's 3 current events, and maybe we'll do like a
dun, dun, dun.
graphic. Barb's 3 current events.
That'll be your homework.
Then put real barbs in it,
That's right. Okay, the first current event. The attacker of Paul Pelosi, unfortunately, as many of you should know by now, Paul Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi's husband in San Francisco, was attacked this weekend. And not only were there crazy rumors that Elon Musk was part of that, saying that what happened was that he had gone to a gay bar and picked up this guy and took him home, and it was like a lover's quarrel. So that was like the QAnon theory. Elon Musk. Yes. So apparently the attacker was an undocumented person who overstayed his visa. And this is really being done on Fox News, all the right-wing kind of newspapers and stuff. So they want to really promote the fact that this person was illegal here. So I want to hear what you have to say. But he was illegal Well, he was illegal from Canada. I'm not laughing. I'm just saying is that this goes completely against their story about the southern border. Okay. So it's I don't know. See what you have to say about that. The second one, there's a person running for a state Senate seat in Oklahoma. He's a Judeo-Christian. He's a Republican, and he said when he's elected, he's going to push to make sure that all of the public school teachers get indoctrinated and have to pass and pledge allegiance to the Judeo-Christian lifestyle. I guess I don't. It's kind of crazy. But here locally as well, we have a former guest of our show, a friend of the show, I don't know if he'll be after this show, was interviewed, and Jenny can comment on some of the things. His name is Matthew Ridenhour, and he is a Liberty University graduate, and interesting to hear what he has to say. And then the last one,
Fallbrook University.
That's right. So the last one, a Republican candidate for auditor in Franklin County, Ohio, was busted by their local newspaper for posting and liking all of these hot mom photos and stuff like that. Well, he says that he was hacked, that hackers must have hacked his Twitter account and liked those things. It really wasn't him. So now he's saying, what happened was, and so hear what you have to say about that. So in 30 seconds or less, who wants to start on those? Jen? You usually do that, so we'll give you the honors.
Sure, Jenny.
Well, I'll start with the Ohio dude. First of all, there's no monetary motivation in somebody hacking you and then liking porn sites. You just like the porn sites, and that's okay. Like it's just like, if you slid over there and looked at some gay porn and swam in the penis pool a little bit, like our friend Lady Graham, that's okay. Welcome to the club. So we'll get that out of the way. And then the Paul Pelosi thing, clearly major real news networks have already covered it. The police report doesn't have any kind of nakedness. First of all, let's talk real talk. If the dude really was gay, and gay men are known for being exceptionally good dressers,
sure,
he wouldn't be breaking in with just his underwear on.
Yeah, that's right.
It would be some rhinestone assless chaps, a cowboy hat, and probably some jumper cables. Okay, so the second of all, if Paul Pelosi was hooking up with dudes, he'd do it the old-fashioned way. And he would call Lindsey Graham and go, "How do I get the action over here in California? Something. And do you have a hookup when I go visit DC?" So, I mean, Lady Graham does have the taste for the professional working man in male entertainment. And loves ladybugs for some reason. Anyway, and most importantly, let's get to the local race. MAGA
running for county commission.
Matthew Ridenhour is literally aligned himself with the Moms for Liberty. He wants to lock and load up the school systems with all these SRO officers. He's pushing this agenda. He's pushing the school choice privatized agenda. And most of all, he sidestepped the abortion question on WFAE when they were comparing the candidates. Not only did he literally sidestep the abortion issue, didn't answer the question. He says it has nothing to do with the race. And I disagree. You're a character of who you are and how you stand on issues. Even if the county doesn't fund abortion or have abortion clinics or anything like that, it's all about body autonomy.
Issue, yes.
It's a huge issue. As Barbara knows, she comes from the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry. So it shows that, one, he's a liar. He's a typical MAGA. He also supports the big lie, even tried to propose that people illegally voted in his race in 2020. So this guy has a history of lying. And most of all, he's trying to claim that Laura Meyer, is not fit for office because she made a hot mic comment. So back in 2020, 2021, when they were debating the mask issue, and there was a lady testifying up to the county commission who was for the mask regulation. A lot of the anti-maskers, the wackos that support Matthew Ridenhour, were booing him. Laura didn't realize her mic in front of her was still hot. And she said, that's horrible and disgusting, to boo this lady that was testifying. And she had the mic. So she was the one that should be able to talk, and they were trying to drown her out. And so basically what I'm saying is that Matthew Ridenhour supports the lowest common denominator. He supports Moms for Liberty. He supports the big lie. He argued the big lie for the county. And what I'm tired is him trying to make himself look like a mainstream sane candidate
Sure.
when he's a Liberty University, Jerry Falwell Jr. Republican. And I want him to run on his own merits. If you're going to be a wacko, we don't need to find out after we've elected you. You need to say, no, I'm a wacko. This is what I believe. This is what I support. Then run on that. But to lie about your record, to lie about how you feel is a crock of shit. And it's shameful because him being a former Marine, I would expect in the military, you have an honor code and it's all about honesty. He's violating his oath. He's acting like Dan Bishop. Fit for office. He's not fit for office at all.
Good point. Good point. Barb, you want to comment on any of those?
I don't know anything about Matthew right now or lately. I haven't had anything to do with him since he ran the last time. So I can't comment on that. I'm really disgusted with the other comments I've heard about poor Mr. Pelosi getting beat up, and I just think it's a shame. But I question why this person was able to get into the house. They've got enough money to have a security system. Why was he so easily? Why did he get in? And nobody seems to be able to answer that question for me. And what was the other one we were going to talk about? First one?
Oh, the Oklahoma thing.
The Oklahoma indoctrinating teachers of the guy who got caught with liking hot moms.
I have stopped watching the news again because it's just me to the point where I want to just get in my car and go drive to another planet or something. I'm sick of it.
But don't you think, Barb, back in the day, especially in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, when Republicans weren't making a big deal of everybody else's sexuality and weren't as wrapped up about it or whatever, we didn't care what a congressperson did. We didn't. Like I never worried about what my congressman or congressperson did behind closed doors, as long as they weren't like drowning puppies or anything like that. But when you think about it, think about our politicians of our day, of our youth, and you look at Republicans now, and they're so eat up on what everybody else is doing, dating wise and married wise, and going to drag shows and things like that. And you just it's just so
jobs. How about that? Not doing their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, one, it doesn't have anything to do with their job, and I don't care if the guy loves porn. I don't care what he watches, on his computer or whatever. I mean, they watch perfectly legal porn. Sure. It's all, it's all adult movies. I have no issue. I mean, I've got friends that are sex performers that perform in adult films and things like that. And so I have 0.0 issue with that. I have an issue with you then turning around and getting pissed off that I exist or the Christian exist or somebody else.
The hypocrisy.
So the hypocrisy that I'm out here living my big old gay life, not bothering anybody. I'm not showing up to Matthew Ridenhour's house and protesting that he's straight or that he went to Pool Boy University. I don't care, so why worry about what I do, and so it's just very, very bizarre. And that's what I can't say.
No, you make some very good points. And we're going to take our first break, and then I'll comment on those three, then we'll start our topic. We'll be right back after this on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget, you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. Well, welcome back. And Jenny, you said exactly correct. I think the fact that this attacker they're finding out that he actually basically overstayed his visa. And he was here illegally. I think the right is trying to push this as, look at the irony, an illegal person attacked them. It wouldn't have happened if she wouldn't be letting all these illegals in. Problem with that argument is their entire argument is based on racism and bigotry, because they don't talk about the northern border. They only talk about the southern border. If they were really concerned about the border, they would want all of our borders protected, but they don't. They only want the southern border protected.
But didn't he overstay a visa? So he actually, when he came in the country, he came
exactly.
in
He wouldn't have
with a visa.
Crossed over the desert in Mexico or something.
So he went through the system. He went through the northern border because the guy's a Canadian citizen.
Yep.
And he came on here with either a work visa or a student visa or whatever. He looks like a pretty young guy.
43, I think, or so.
Super white, and I've seen a picture of him, and they showed his mugshot on the Twitter machine.
Yeah.
But so he came in the country with all the credentials.
Sure.
Just whatever, forgot they needed to go back, to go check in, or whatever, or maybe got in trouble here.
Probably more interesting to live here than Canada.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much in Canada except like snow and a couple cool cities, but it's a bit.
But I guess what you're talking about, Jenny, is that it shows the complete hypocrisy of these MAGAs and these Republicans that talk about securing our border. These people are coming to replace us. Most of the people who are here illegally are people who overstay their visas, and they tend to be from European countries or more whiter countries. And that's not an issue for Trump and his people. Don't mind them because they kind of look away. That's why the Irish embassy was so concerned about Trump, is because so many Irish people have overstayed their visas to work here and are here not legally, and they were afraid that they were going to.
I mean, but just like with Barbara's comment,
sure,
I'd say the same thing about Ireland.
Of course.
Really go back there?
Hey, heard they had some great pubs. I've never been there.
I'm excited about Irish cuisine.
Yeah. So to the Judeo-Christian thing, that's just crazy. I don't know how you can even legally do that. I don't think it would ever pass. But I am very saddened to hear about Matthew Ridenhour, and I have noticed. But what other choice? And I actually spoke with Laura Meyer. I did not. She's actually my county commissioner here in Mecklenburg County, Charlotte region. I did not support her the first time. But I told her I was supporting her this time because you can't complain about someone who's doing a good job. Our county is successful. We're doing well. If we weren't doing well, then maybe I would be concerned.
And here's a really important point too. So Laura Meyer was one of the two county commissioners that voted to fund our schools during that controversy last year.
That's true.
She was one of the two that actually did the legal thing. It was illegal for the other county commissioners to hold up. And another important point, Matthew Ridenhour said, quote unquote, if I was on the board, I would have voted against giving them the money. Yeah. And so he openly admitted if he was on the board, he would have committed an illegal act while he was as a county.
First of all, his kids don't even go to public school. His kids go to charter school.
Well,
he founded a charter school. He founded a charter school because it was a way for his kids not to be mixed with the black and brown kids. Yeah. And secondly, for him to say that the abortion issue is not the job of the county commission, the county commission's biggest budget is health
and human services.
Yes.
Health and human services. So either he doesn't know the job he's applying for, or maybe
wasn't he a county commissioner?
Yes, he was a county commissioner, and he was a founder of the Tea Party. He was, and so he's a typical really trying to pander.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
So he's a typical teabagger, the downturned MAGA. It's the same group. It's the same anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic. He's typical. So Matthew Ridenhour reminds me of that libertarian candidate for president we had on our show in 2020.
Yep.
When he was on our show,
I forgot his name. Yep.
He was talking about, we support the LGBT community, and and then his buddy, or one of our former co-hosts, broke out a little Spanish to make himself sound inclusive and did all the things.
He was from Texas, South Texas.
And then.
Oh yeah, I remember him. That's right.
And then was it the same night Or the next night, we went to that brewery where they had that closed.
Yep, we went to the meet and greet. Yep.
Hey, let me tell you something. When it was primarily just the libertarians with their tinfoil hats on, we heard about how immoral socialism is, and we heard the Adolf Hitler side of the Libertarian Party from this guy that was running for president. And Matthew Martin has that same deal. He's two-faced.
Yeah.
He comes on our show and brings some flowers and breaks up some bubbly and gets some violin music going in the background and wants to schmooze us. But the truth is, he's hiding in the same bunker that other dude is, and they're plotting and planning, wanting to defund the schools and make their own little private kingdoms. And they're typical tea baggers, typical libertarians, Koch brother type people that want to be able to make money off the schools the same way they did private prisons, the same way they did off the 9/11 wars. It's just another Republican MAGA scam.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep, that's an excellent point. The hot moms thing, once again, it's just, if we had $1 for every MAGA person that has been busted masturbating in front of kids, the pastors who cheat on their, want to have sex with people. I mean, but what's to me is so amazing is the white evangelicals keep sticking with them. And it's like, oh, well.
Because we don't want them. I mean,
it's
I'm
just
happy
crazy.
they're over there.
Yeah,
I don't have an issue with evangelicals being Republicans because they're not welcome over in the Democrats. Like, they can stay over there all they want. I mean, where else are they going to go?
That's a good point.
Hey, I'd like to tell them where they should go.
Yeah. But one of the things that we talked about on the special that we did about the MAGA's War on Drag shows is when I lived in Washington, D.C., I lived there twice. Each time I lived there, it was very, very common for the people that you would meet at bars to drink with or whatever, they worked for Republicans. They were like on their staff. One was a chief of staff for a very big person. They were all, it's all on the down low kind of thing. And every time there was a Republican president, whether it was Bush, the first Bush, the second Bush, the bars were busiest when Republicans were in town. And everyone knew it. That was just like, it was kind of this joke. For all the single guys, the Republicans are coming into town. So it's anyway, I'm not sure how I was going with that, but it's just so hypocritical because, like we said on the last episode, these are the people that go on down to New Orleans saying, what stays in Vegas happens in Vegas. Those are the people, those are typical MAGA Republicans. So, the ones that can afford to go, most of them can't.
And here's the thing, and no matter who you talk about in the Republican Party, first of all, they're two-faced. Second of all, that things like, like MTG hiring the gay not guy, and that he just lives with his former husband.
You tried to tell us what's more when she's going through a divorce?
And they sleep in the same bed, but they don't do gay stuff anymore. They're not gay anymore.
Ew.
It's just, I don't know. All right, let me get back. Let's take our second break, and we'll come back and actually talk about our topics. we will be back on Coffee Pan Dulce right after this. Howdy, everyone. I'm Christian Cano with the Coffee Pan Dulce Show, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I just want to remind everyone that we have less than 22 days, I think, 22 days to vote on November the 8th. And I just want to urge everyone to get out there and vote. If you're not registered to vote, you can actually register, I believe, day of in North Carolina during early voting. But also, please remember to grab your neighbor, grab a tia, a tío, a mija, a mijo, grab someone who's eligible to vote and register to vote, and take them out to vote. This election is so important, as every election is. But remember, you only have about 22 days left, so there's a link that's going to be on the bottom here. Follow that link if you need more information about getting out to vote. And once again, please get out to vote like your family's future depends on it, because our families do. Thank you. Get out to vote. Well, welcome back, everyone, and thank you. All right, so Voto LatinX. Can American democracy be saved? We have 1 week we take this, full disclosure, we're taking this on a Tuesday night. It's exactly a week before election night, and we'll also be taping next week's show on Tuesday night at a time that we think we will have a grasp of who is kind of winning on the East Coast. So we'll know whether it's democracy's being saved or it's going to be
whether we're moving to
2
Canada.
years. Yeah, well,
I'm going to go south personally. If I was,
you go to
if I
Mexico,
was-
Costa Rica?
Chris, I'm committed to staying here and making their life as movable as humanly
So
possible.
am I. Yeah,
But
that's right.
if I was going to leave
Sure.
and I had to choose between Canada and Mexico, I'm going to
Sure.
Mexico. They got better weather, better drinks,
Yeah.
definitely better food. I mean, Canadian food.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it going to be like? Cold as shit. It's a big old popsicle. I mean, I'm hoping that global warming will help them out a little bit.
Yeah.
But
No global warming. What's the matter with you?
But I'm gonna go. But I'm gonna go probably to like Acapulco or Cancun or
Yeah.
someplace pretty
That's a good
cool.
idea. Yeah.
Hey,
Where our money
So-
goes farther.
So
figure out where
here's-
Ted Cruz goes.
yeah.
Don't go there.
So
Don't go
here's-
there.
So here's the question I was going to ask both of you. I was thinking about, let's think about the topic here. Do y'all have this fear? Because I've been thinking about this. I think just like y'all, we've done everything we can to encourage the people that we know to vote. It's a week left. If we haven't convinced them by now, I'm not sure what we're going to be able to do in the next week. So I'm basically saying I've done everything I can. I'm just going to, there's nothing else I can say to someone that's going to change their mind between now and then. If you're still undecided now, maybe you
You're
should.
probably not voting.
But I want you to vote. Yeah. Okay. So, but here's the deal. Do you have this sense that this may be the beginning of the end of American democracy?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm really worried about it.
Because I've been thinking about that. How about you, Jen?
Well, I think American democracy was gone a long time ago. I think it started with Nixon and Republican Party's commitment to creating harm in our country, to create poverty and a great divide is the reason why we're so far apart on things is because the Republican Party's been so inhumane for 50 years. And they're trying to finish it off with taking away Social Security and Medicare.
Right.
And human rights. I mean, basic human medical
Can I
rights.
stop for a moment? Why is it that the Democratic Party is not making this a really big deal? People didn't believe us.
They are.
Go read their party platform.
Yeah.
It's right in there. Go
ahead.
If you are on Social Security right now and you get a pension, they want to take your Social Security away. Then I want my money back with interest. And my pension, thanks to some crooked people, is like 1/3 of what it should have been. We are told by the federal government to plan for our own retirement because Social Security isn't going to cover all of it. And now they want to take it away. I bet some of the good old white boys in some of these states don't even know this is going on because they don't read, they don't do any research, they just watch TV and listen to the same stuff over and over and over again. If you try to get some logic and some reason why they think that way from them, they can't answer you.
Sure.
But this is a really big deal and nobody's talking about it.
But here's the problem. It is the majority of our news outlets are now been taken over by very powerful billionaires. And you look at who owns the Washington Post now, the New York Times, the major social media outlets, which is where most people get their news, whether you're left or right or anywhere in between. A lot of people use, especially Twitter.
Sure.
And there's definitely ways of pushing algorithms, as we saw in 2016 with the whole the scandal with that one data company and how they skewed numbers to convince people not to vote.
That reminds me of something.
That nature. It's so when you have a two things in play. You have an oligarchy where you have billionaires controlling the narrative because they have so much money and they own 60% of our economy. And you have a theocratic regime that wants this to be completely controlled by the church. You have two huge, massive movements to squash the other voice. The other voice is saying, you know, maybe this isn't a good idea. This has been tried before and it's a terrible idea. They have spent a lot of money and they have a lot of power to silence a lot. So that's why you're not hearing. Biden's been screaming it for months.
Sure.
All the major Democratic outlets.
I saw it on Sherry Beasley's ad today.
Brian Tyler Cohen's been saying it for 2 months.
Yes, I just saw Sherry Beasley's. Yep.
And the thing of it is,
but now, how many people have already early voted? What the hell's the matter with you?
Yeah, but the Democrats have been screaming it. But if you don't have the money to put it in the band, because these are paid ads, every ad you're seeing is getting paid by somebody, well, Democrat or Republican. So it's not, you know, Democrats are paying, but when they have a fraction of the money that these billionaires that are pumping it through the Republican Party, because the high wealth individuals, whether they've traditionally voted Democrat or not, want a regime change in the Congress.
Sure.
They don't want phase 2 of the Biden administration because Biden's going to go after certain tax loopholes. He's going to close a lot of things for billionaires in this next phase. They don't like that. They're not happy.
Sure.
And quite frankly, my only fear is that Biden may end up being a victim of his own success of the first 2 years. And I'm hoping people aren't stupid, but Americans are the hillbillies of the planet. We're not the sharpest tools in the shed. We've been told a lot of bullshit stuff that when you first hear it, you go, nobody's going to fall for that. And then, of course, we end up with presidents like Reagan. And they,
so, but Jen,
30 cheaters.
Yeah, Jen, you made some very good points. And Barbara, I was actually thinking exactly what you were thinking today when I saw the Sherry Beasley ad today, because I noticed the tone changed a little bit today. But to Jenny's point, there's the people who run the campaigns. Their commercials are specifically targeting specific people depending on when it is. We know that Democrats traditionally vote early. And so they were targeting just to get Democrats out. Unaffiliated people and seniors tend to vote day of election. And so it would make sense to explain this to those individuals now, because those are the people who are going to be voting in a couple of days. The other individuals, like the younger voters and stuff like that, they're usually going to vote early. I was going to say something. Today, we're talking about Voto LatinX, Can America's Democracy Save? The Latinx, the Latino population vote actually swung, not a lot, but in comparison to what it did from 2016 to 2020, it swung more Republican. Yes. And the question is that they're asking is it going to continue the swing? Here's the thing that I thought, and I thought about this when Jen was talking about this. All of the polling that's coming out is saying that the Republicans in certain states like Kent and whatever his name is, and Herschel Walker is leading and so forth, and then in Pennsylvania. The problem is, and the Washington Post did a story on this, right before the elections, what happens is Republicans, they fund a lot of polls. They fund polls not because they believe the polls, but because big polling like CNN, the ones that do like the average polling, they actually want to have more Republican polls because it skews the average. So you will have 3 Democratic, 3 polls, but then you'll have like 20 Republican polls that are funded by like the Koch brothers and stuff like that. And it skews the average. So it'll always look like the Republicans are really winning when they're not really winning. It's just they're winning in the average polls. But Democratic pollsters understand that's what they have been doing for, I think, a decade now, because they know how to play the game. They play the game to manipulate things, to convince people at the last moment, Walker's really going to win. I'm going to go and vote for him. So that's one thing. The next thing I was going to tell you about is inflation. Apparently they did this polling, and the polling they did with Republicans said democracy meant less to them than inflation. And so it kind of tells you the mindset of a current Republican, because I don't know how to read that. That could either mean that they think democracy is not really going away. The concern that I have, and especially with our Latinx viewers and people who watch us as well, and I don't know how else to say this, the person that's going to hurt the most if we actually go to an inflation and the Republicans are in Congress are poor white people. It's going to hurt them the most because they're not going to get unemployment. They're not going to be saved by a Republican or MAGA Congress and a MAGA Senate and MAGA state legislatures. They're not going to be saved. The only people who are going to save them are progressives and Democrats. And quite honestly, it's not going to hurt poor Black and brown people, because poor Black and brown people have learned to survive during Reagan, during Bush. So they've always learned it. That's just it's like being gay. You know how to survive.
Yep.
Poor white people have never really been abandoned like they're going to be abandoned by MAGAs.
Right.
And so that's what I think. That's if I wish somehow we had that message. I'm not worried about Black and brown people. We're going to survive. It's the poor white people that are voting for these MAGA people thinking that they're going to be taken care of. They're not going to be taken care of, and that's going to be the issue. Jenny, you look like you disagree with me.
Well, I mean, this has been a cycle that we've been in for a long time where, we get Republicans under some sort of control and get them, positioned to where they need to be, which is out of power. And then Republicans break something, and we think, okay, let's vote Obama in, let's, make a Democratic Congress. That lasts for a couple of years. And we're just stupid enough to let Republicans lie their way back into office.
Yep.
And come up with some bullshit crisis, just some manufactured thing. Reagan did it, Nixon did it, Republicans have been doing this a long time.
Sure.
They know they got to manufacture fear.
Mm-hmm.
They slide back in office because we have just enough hillbillies to vote them back in.
Yeah.
They destroy the country again. Then we got to have Democrats come back in, like the aisle attendants in Walmart's. There was a spill on aisle 29, and once again we have to come in and rescue the country. I don't know how many times we have to do this before we realize the 11 of the 12 last recessions we had were all Republican recessions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Including the Great Depression and the Great Recession.
They tell the story another way.
Exactly.
So, they lie.
Democrats are bad.
Yeah.
They don't tell it a different way. They just lie their asses off, and blame space aliens and underwear, naked gay.
She announces another tax cut, and boom, inflation goes through the ceiling again. She's not prime minister anymore. I mean, do you not understand economics?
They don't.
Well,
I know they don't, and so
when you have
this isn't Biden administration inflation. This is Trump tax cuts.
So it's no American president necessarily caused inflation.
Yeah.
So we have to realize two things. One, Republicans have dismantled any kind of counterbalance to big business for the last 40 years. Reagan, both Bushes, and Trump stripped away every safeguard to keep our economy between the rails.
Sure.
So it's allowed investments of certain kinds to be legalized that 10, 20, and even 30 years ago were completely illegal, like stock buybacks, certain protections, all those type of safety measures that kept us from going, that were put into place right after the Great Depression and World War II. Those are almost all gone. So there's number one. So that's why we're seeing these huge rises, like we saw in the early 2000s when our economy spiked. And of course, because the safety measures were taken away from the Bush administration, That's why we had the crash. Because what goes up must come down.
2008.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the Trump did even more. Plus, he gave them $2 trillion of our money to them so they can buy back more of their stock, create more power, and own more of the economy. Now it's up to a little over 60% of the economy is owned by about 700 people in this country.
Sure.
Number two, we're in a global inflationary cycle. We've got countries out there, including European countries, that have 20, 30, up to 70% inflation. Our 8% inflation
is nothing.
It's like,
I mean, it's important to us, but in comparison, you're right, Jenny. Exactly.
We also had historically low inflation coming out of the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. And so, in fact, our inflation rate was so low, it was actually unhealthy for a country to have such low inflation. And so, you have to have some inflation, otherwise you don't have a certain amount of growth and health to your economy. Your prices are always going to go up. They're never going to stay the same.
But Jenny, you said exactly. You know what? Let's take our last break. We only got 13 minutes. Let's take a last break, and then I'll make the comment. Then we can kind of wind down a little bit. So we're going to talk. If you like what Jenny has to say, please listen to her show that comes on 30 minutes after this on Wednesdays at 11:30. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. She really lets her hair down and talks about topics. I'm not sure what topic you're talking about on today's show, but you have to stay tuned. Once again, Two Queers in a Truck. We'll be right back with the commercial on that show.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.
One of the things that you talk about, Jenny, if we were mean people, if we like to see other people suffer.
Speak for yourself.
As a Democrat. Okay. I know. As a Democrat, the best thing that could
lubricate my brains.
If we really wanted the final destruction of the Republican Party completely, it would be to let them win this midterm, because it would completely destroy their chances in 2024. Because if what they're saying is correct, let's just take their word for it. They are terrible at handling inflation. Their people would turn on them like a dime. And then we would have an even more progressive person elected in 2024 you think Bernie was progressive? That's what their people would swing, because they would be so there's no way they would tolerate Marjorie Taylor Greene and her craziness. And so in a way, it's kind of want to see their party completely destroy themselves. I don't want that. You know, I know that Democrats are the only ones that have the skill set currently, because we're the only ones that have ever done it. We've always, and Barack Obama was completely right. He was campaigning in Georgia and Pennsylvania, and he said, Republicans, when they have been in charge, they have always run up the debt, and we've always saved them. The debt actually was reduced for the very first time this last year. And so it is
a long time.
Interesting, and quite honestly,
but see,
the current MAGA person
right there.
Is a person that's not able to handle inflation. Go ahead.
So full stop right there. One of the reasons that's getting glossed over, even by Democrats, number one, we reduced the debt by $1.4 trillion. There's a reason to Biden's madness. He got the economy jump-started again, created 10 million jobs in 18 months. Those 10 million people paying back into the system, also paying down our debt.
Yep.
And because companies were so successful with record profits, that inflation, yes, it did cause a little bit of a pinch. You know, your cold beer is now $7 a six-pack instead of $6 a six-pack for Schlitz.
A large Diet Coke at McDonald's is $1.25.
If you can't afford to pay $6 beer, you can't afford to pay $7 beer. You're full of shit.
Correct.
Okay,
yep.
Let's be real. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, just buy a smaller truck, buy an electric car, whatever.
Switch to PBR.
But switch to PBR. I mean, after the second beer, it all tastes the same anyway. But one of the most important points, because Biden was so economically disciplined, created a alternate corporate minimum tax. and created enough revenue and jump-started it in less than 18 months, we actually are the physically conservative party. Just like Clinton was a very physically responsible president.
Yeah, how much was the surplus when Baby Bush took over, and how
it was in the billions.
Another lying war and just pissed away all that money.
And without any budget cuts, reduced our debt by $1.4 trillion. And if the Biden budgeting process stays on track, and this was something that came from the Wall Street Journal about a year ago this time, said Biden's numbers check out. That if Biden's plan to restore America and build back America stay on track through 2030, that we will be debt free somewhere in about 2031 to 2032. That means taking $30 trillion and making it this year.
Yeah. So here's a question, Jen, and I guess this question is more for you, Barbara. So what Jen says, like something that I think of. I think of who would be better for the job during the situation and so forth. And I think we probably all think of that, which is why it made no sense for me to support Matthew Ridenour when our county is doing well. Why do I want to fire someone when it's doing well? You only want to fire them when it's not doing well, And so what's interesting is, do you think that the people who are going to be voting on Election Day, which traditionally are older and whiter, do you think that the inflation issue is important to them? Do you think it's democracy? Do you think it's Social Security? What do you think would be the issue that would more likely than not be that they would go, oh, you know what? Do you have a sense for that? Because I can tell you what, like my mom would say. So
the older, my age group. They're not really talking about inflation.
Okay.
Let's be blunt. They have money. It's not an issue.
That's my point. Yes.
Where we live, I'm not hearing it. Of course, they're hearing about it from their children and their grandchildren, but I don't think it's hitting people that I know here locally.
Sure. Yeah.
My family in Illinois, oh my God, an earful. I was shocked at the price of gas there. It makes no sense to me what they're paying for gas. I was like flabbergasted. Like $1.50 more from Kentucky to Illinois. Why?
Yeah.
$1.50 a gallon. Oh,
I'll tell you why.
Why?
Well, I mean, first of all, Kentucky's a broke dick state. It's a broke dick state. It's a broke ass state. I mean, hillbilly Kentuckians don't have any money. They're one of the most impoverished states in the union.
So they pull out more gas tax?
Yeah. Well, gas companies, oil companies, petroleum companies, whatever you want to call them, will charge different prices in different states on what they know the market.
They will charge you what you pay. Jenny and I had this conversation. She's exactly right. If you go to you go to Myers Park, $4 a gallon. You go 30 minutes, 10 minutes down to the gallery area, $3.30.
Yep.
Why? Because people are willing to pay it at $4 a gallon.
Literally,
if you didn't start, so they don't see it, right?
I drive.
It's true.
I drive for the living, so I cover most of Central Charlotte.
Yep.
I only buy my gas in certain parts of town because I know I'm going to be over there no matter what.
Yep.
There's literally there on Monroe Road. There's a QT that's 50 to 60 cents cheaper than in South Park. Now, people in South Park that primarily stay in South Park, and I'm talking about older white people, are not going to drive their gas guzzling Escalades and big old Mama Jama, Land Rovers and this sort of thing. They're not going to go over there and they don't care about the extra $5 or $6 they're going to end up paying or $10 because they're already going to spend $40.
So it's funny.
They got a 20-gallon tank. I mean, so this is two things. Humans are lazy. Yeah, and they're going to pay for gas no matter what. You're going to put gas. Yeah. It's not going to. You haven't seen any of them starving. You don't see a bunch of
Yep.
Young Republicans on TV, all emaciated and looking like they haven't eaten in 60 days. In fact, they look as chubby as ever. Like you're not just stringing through going, hey, let's donate to
the
these
bars are still busy
because they can't buy any more fat cakes and Little Debbie cakes for their kids.
Yeah.
Let's be truthful about this.
Yeah,
the inflation rate is bullshit. There is no reason to get all twisted about the inflation. The inflation, like Christian says all the time, so your McDonald's soda went from $1 to $1.25. If you couldn't afford the 25 cents extra, you couldn't afford the $1 in the first place.
Exactly.
And I laugh.
Buy a 6-pack at Walmart.
Because these jackasses will go to a brewery here in town, which we have about 1,000 of those.
Yep.
And they'll pay $8 or $9 for a craft beer.
Yep.
Sure.
Gas goes up 10 cents. And they crap themselves over it. And I'm going, you will literally spend almost 3 gallons of gas on that craft beer that you absolutely don't need. Not that it doesn't taste good. Would stroke out if it goes from $3.29 to $3.39.
Yep. Well, that's why, Jenny, that's kind of why I made the statement. I was curious to what you had to say, Barbara, because the reporting is showing that the inflation issue is not working with MAGA Republicans, or at least the voters they're trying to get at this stage. Because it's not working with suburban white moms, inflation is not impacting them.
We know what's working with the suburban white moms.
Crime. Don't let little Debbie go out there with the pedophiles, the crime, it's like you can tell they're in panic mode because inflation and high gas prices is not working for them. It's never going to work for Black and brown people because you've always learned how to survive. That's just what you do. If you live in the country, you learn how to survive. You only buy groceries once every couple of weeks. It's the suburban person they're trying to convince, and the inflation issue wasn't working, and they're panicking, so they're starting to use all these other issues. We only have about 2 minutes left, so Jen, you want anything else you have to say before we start closing down?
No, I mean, if you haven't voted,
yes, we're going to get to that.
Then make sure that you get out and vote. If you've already voted, it's great. And if you, no matter where you live, because we have viewers, I think, in all 50 states. Make sure you get out and support the candidates you want to deal with. Maybe go do some door knocking. Sure. I mean, most states still have early voting up and through this weekend. I know North Carolina, I think our last day to early votes like Saturday.
And
Saturday.
Saturday, 3 o'clock.
So then we have, the midterm a week from when we're recording this right now.
Yep.
And so you still got time to get out there, and you should. If you want to have have a legacy, one of the great legacies of the United States is democracy. Exactly. It's something that it's kind of like the old ADA bumper sticker. Ignore your teeth, and they'll go away. Yeah. And I'll say that the same with democracy. Yeah. Ignore your democracy, and it goes away.
But Jenny, Barbara said something very interesting, and I thought about this when I was on the treadmill today. I have the privilege of walking from here to my garage, getting on the treadmill, to the treadmill. When I see these MAGA people who are trolling us about the drag queens or whatever and calling us elitist and all this kind of stuff, here's the deal. As an elitist, let's say I own that. Whoever wins the election is not going to hurt me. It's going to hurt them. It'll hurt me because I see other people suffering. Yes. But quite honestly, I have survived Reagan, Bush, don't ask, don't tell, your wetback, all the hate that I have, and I will continue to survive. The people who aren't going to be able to survive are the MAGAs who are afraid of everything. And so for me, if you think you're going to own the libs or own the elites, you're not going to own us. I'm still going to Key West next year, regardless of who wins. So and I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm just trying to say the interesting thing is they think they're owning the elitist people or whatever. As Barbara said, in the areas that we live, we're not worried about inflation. We're worried about saving our democracy, making sure that people are taken care of, seniors have Social Security, and all of these Medicare and all these kind of things. So let's go around the Brady Bunch screen. I did a little preaching there. I'm sorry.
That's all
Jenny
right.
hates when I do that. Jenny hates when I do that. So tell us where you're going to be in 30 seconds or less. We'll start with you, Jen, and then you, Barb.
Well, I'll sound like Jeff. Production values, Christian. Production value. For people that did not watch the show back in the day, so early on in the show, we used to have a guy named Jeff who was one of our co-hosts, and he always reminded us about talking too long, and he always had to look right at Christian when he said that, because he needed to. Anyway, but Christian's he's gotten better. We've almost got him healed of misogyny too. But anyway, I had to throw that in, just for all of us, for all the South Charlotte white moms out there. But anyway, I don't have any real big plans other than just helping people vote and things of that nature. My big holiday passed, and now I got to survive 60 days of Christmas music. That's why I'm still trying to cancel Christmas, according to Tucker Carlson. But yeah, no, I do like the holiday season, especially Festivus for the rest of us, and just hanging out, enjoying the fall weather.
Well, I'm still going to be following up with people that I know don't always vote. And I guess I'm going to submit to scare tactics and just talk to them about, okay, this is what could happen to you if you don't vote.
Yeah.
And please vote for Democrats. And I'm an independent, but I'm asking people to vote for Democrats. I'm worried about certain people in my family. They will be hurt a lot. And I don't want to see that happen. I don't have any money to help them, so I'm taking care of me. And I'm sorry, but if I don't take care of me, who's going to take care of me? Nobody else. So, and I've got my friends up in Winston-Salem that I'm trying to help finally move to stage 2 and start their home renovation, but the contractors never show up. So it's just whatever, we'll postpone and do something else, but that's what I'm going to be doing, making sure my friends vote. So.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Barb. And I will actually be camping. So as I will do every weekend, I'll be canvassing, I think, the next couple of days here in my neighborhood, getting people out to vote, and then camping this weekend, and then getting ready for the final day of voting. So I think I'll be at some sign holding I'll be at some corner here in South Charlotte holding a sign saying "Don't vote for stupid people." So we'll see how that works. All right. Well, thank you so much. Y'all have been it's been a good show. Next week, I want to let you know that we will actually be taping right the night before the election, so we will hopefully have an idea of who will be winning, at least on the East Coast and here in North Carolina. And so we will see you next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Jen, you have your dance out music? Bye, y'all. See you next week.
Hopefully we're not crying.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. I hope you have a safe week and happy November.
Yes.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Hey, Barb.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers and a Truck. Stay tuned.